Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to round two of the Legacy event on Tuesday. Unfortunately, due to some technical issues of me not being there, we've started a little bit into game one here, but their life totals are correct. And Robert, this is Mark versus Adrian again, and Adrian's had a pretty spicy start there.
Yeah, that's exactly what Byrne loves to see.
Yeah,
Wormcoil engine.
yeah. He's taken a lot of damage, but he's landed a turn 2 Wormcoil engine against a measly 2/2 Goblin Guide, which is not really going to
It's
help him.
pretty funny that he's used two Ancient Tombs. I think Mark would have been rejoicing on turn one when Adrian would have paid 2 life to play that Grim Monolith.
Yeah, but probably falls into a face of horror afterwards. And
So what is he up to?
something that you probably shouldn't do. Maybe he doesn't know that it has lifelink. Mark is a newer player.
Yeah, no, that. See, what you got to do now, if you're Mark, and this is, it's such an uphill battle. You've got to
Skullcracker.
you've got to try and
every time.
burn him out.
Yeah.
You can't get into a fight with Wormcoil engine on the ground. So if he attacks with Wormcoil, you block and you have to use your burn spell on your dude to prevent the lifelink.
Okay. I see.
It's really difficult, but it is possible.
I see.
But yeah, this game's already over. It's
Yeah, that's a Trinisphere being slammed down from Adrian there. And look, Adrian's taken what would amount to 10 damage from shocks alone.
yeah, but he's doing fine.
But yeah, Wormcoil Engine just sets you further and further apart. Trinisphere means Mark can only cast one burn spell a turn. Goblin Guide's... Well, Goblin Guide. It's not really going to beat a 6/6 with lifelink and Death Touch. Mark's only real chance here, I guess, would be a... I've completely lost the name of it. Wear and Tear, yeah?
Well, no, because he needs to exile the Wormcoil somehow, but Red's not
True.
going to do that.
True. But I mean, maybe if he has 2 burn spells to deal with the remainders. Oh, wow. Okay, so he can't even kill off that Trinisphere. That's pretty harsh. And, is he suspending that Rift Bolt? I should hope not. Because...
When it resolves, does he have to pay 3 for it?
Yeah, you'll have to pay 3 for it when you try to cast it next turn, basically. So you might as well just cast it for 3 now, since that's what it costs anyway. And, get your damage in.
Well, on the bright side, at least Mark has a really cool, spidery playmat.
Yeah, as opposed to Adrian's disturbing mouth bear. I don't even know what that is.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
lovely. It's like a killer pug.
It's rather
something.
creepy when he removes those ancient tombs. You can actually see it.
I'm gonna go with Mark's playmat.
Yeah.
It's got a
Yeah,
sort of nice and simple and good shade of red.
Yeah.
Scarlet. I'm gonna go with Scarlet.
Yeah, the Scarlet Spider.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, if Mark had more, like, I can see a line where you play Rift Bolt in Suspend, but play multiple Rift Bolts in Suspend, and then in your upkeep you respond by, like, Wear and Tear on the Trinisphere.
There's no way he's got artifact removal if this is game 1, right?
Yeah, that's true. But, like, this is the only line I could see where you would actually want to suspend Trinisphere.
Uh,
Where you would want to suspend Riftbolt in this sort of situation.
yeah. Are we now in his upkeep, and is he finding out about the Trinisphere interaction?
No, because Adrian hasn't drawn that first Trinisphere. Nor has he...
I don't know what's taking so long. This is a bit
Yeah, it's a bit hard
it's
to
dragging out a
commentate
bit
on.
because we should really be going to game 2. It's just
Yeah, but Mark is a newer player, and these are things you've got to learn. But we certainly do welcome newer players here at good games, regardless of whether you want to play.
Always looking for new blood in the legacy scene, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and regardless of whether you want to play Legacy or Modern or Standard or Elder Dragon Highlander or Highlander or Vintage, I mean, someone is always here and someone is always keen
Vintage
to
is
play.
starting to pick up a bit more in Brisbane now. I don't know how many they've got for the Highlander. It's more of a thing they have got going down south in Melbourne, I believe, but certainly are a few people trying to get it going here as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of people trying to pick it up, but yeah, so I don't know why. Transfer is a very weird card, and I actually found out why it still retains the fact that you're aware that it says it spells cost 3 as long as it's untapped. Yeah.
Don't know about that. That's a very old mechanic.
It certainly is. So, Trinisphere and Howling Mine were 2 of the cards to keep it that I'm aware of. But back in the day, there used to be mono, continuous, and poly artifacts. Now, continuous were artifacts that were always in effect. Poly, I believe, were artifacts that you could that once tapped were considered turned off, and so the effect was no longer in play, and mono was an activated ability artifact.
Yes, well, we've
now
come through some interesting times in Magic's history.
They've phased those out, but Trinisphere and Howling Mine were 2 cards to keep as long as it remains untapped, even though it has no way to tap them.
But that's true. That means Fire Ice is quite a good answer to it.
Yeah, they're very interesting cards, but even Fire Ice is going to cost you 3 the first time.
Well, you do it at the end of his turn, and then you get to nuts on your own turn.
That's absolutely true. And then they had to fight through their own Trinisphere for nothing. So, yeah, it's just interesting, going back through Magic's history and seeing some of the cards that have made its way in. Also, I think that's a Vexing Shusher in his hand, which is pretty dope. Obviously a main board for the sort of more control-heavy matchup that you would see in the meta around Brisbane, but it's a nice card.
Yeah, good on him.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think a Wormcoil Engine is really the clincher here with a Trinisphere in play. I don't think Burn is coming back from this, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess Mark has to learn one way or another how unfortunate Wormcoil Engine is for their burn strategy.
Yeah, and even more so Trinisphere.
I actually think this matchup is reasonably good for Mark.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How so?
Either he has Wormcoil Engine or he doesn't. It's pretty much that simple, because...
I suppose Chalice of the Void on one... Yeah, no, I guess Adrian has ways to shut him down, but
I mean,
Um,
Mark does have a Vexing Shusher in mainboard, so a Chalice of the Void on one
Oh.
is,
Yeah, that's a good point.
is...
Hopefully he keeps it in for that reason, but I don't know if he's going to realise about the Chalice threat.
That being said, Trinisphere is pretty much a crippler for
Even if he's
Back,
even
he
with
lands fairly.
Trinisphere, Adrian still has to find a way to gain life. Otherwise, he's just going to lose. Especially
that's
if
true.
he's got Ancient Tombs going.
I think Vexing Devil's good, but it doesn't cut the mustard.
Adrian happily pays life for that.
Yeah, when you've got all the life in the world, you don't really need to pay for it. And I guess he was just sort of trying to bring it down as a blocker there, but doesn't really do it. Ooh, Duplicant. That's
That'll
a
be
nice
game.
card. Yeah, so that exiles a non-token creature, and then as long as that card is exiled, Duplicant is a copy of it. Duplicant copies its power and toughness. So
Yeah.
I can't take out your Marriott Large, but
I haven't ever seen it used on a Goblin Guard before, so that's a first.
I mean, it's a pretty good way to kill their last remaining blocker. And we're back to seeing that delightful teddy bear face that Adrian has rocked up for us.
That is a weird picture.
Most certainly. The lovely lady on the right though does rock up on facial recognition, which was an interesting thing. Back to the Legacy. I don't know if we'll get to see it today, but Khans is obviously available for play in this round.
Is this no, these guys haven't got Khan's cards
No.
right now, right?
Sorry, Khans is obviously available to play at the time of this recording,
Yeah.
but it wasn't for this week. So, in your mind, what do you think you'll see maybe come in now that Khans is available?
Well, we've already seen a few decks on Star City Games, and Khans has quite a lot more legacy cards than usual for a new set. And I think Treasure Cruise and that hasty dude that you were talking to me about earlier are going to really
The Monastery of Swiftspear?
shake up the format. Unfortunately, it doesn't really unlock new archetypes, but it sort of powers up an existing tier 1 strategy. Or rather, it kind of shifts the colours around a bit because
there's three. No?
Rug Delver, which was a very strong deck before, can now, with the addition of Treasure Cruise and that Monastery guy, happily play just blue-red instead.
Yep.
So, and that blue-red deck won the Star City Games Legacy event last weekend. So, yeah, it's exciting to see that so many new cards all at once in Legacy, because it's very rare that happens. But
it's usually very much
as
a trickle.
as someone who enjoys rogue decks, it's a bit unfortunate that, or maybe we haven't seen maybe some new decks have yet to emerge because it requires a bit of time to think up new lists. But at the moment, all we're seeing is the power shifting more to one archetype.
Yep.
So I think Delver decks are now even more powerful than before, because Treasure Cruise is just terrific.
Treasure Cruise is a sorcery speed.
What it does
ancestral recall.
it's more like Ancestral Visions, but easier to make work. But because Bug had that ability to refuel a hand in the mid game by cascading into Ancestral Vision to draw 3, whereas now any deck can have that draw power just by adding Treasure Cruise in.
Right, and it's not it's not a terrible card to cast for 2 either.
Yeah, no,
Like
it's a brilliant spell, and what I like about it is what I like about the delve mechanic is that it's kind of it's competing for the graveyard resource with quite a few other tier 1 cards such as Deathrite Shaman
and Snapcaster and
Tarmogoyf,
Grim Lavamancer as well.
Exactly. So
So you can
it's good for deck building because you have to balance, the cards that use the graveyard as a resource.
Absolutely, and on that note, if you're facing down a later, like mid to late game Deathrite Shaman or Tarmogoyf, you can of course just eat through your entire graveyard to drop its power level.
Yeah.
Exactly. and draw 3 cards. So I mean, it's not terrible to play in your deck.
One card I've been thinking about off and on since this Treasure Cruise revolution, if you like, is Rest in Peace, because
it's about to mention that. Do you think it's a much better card now for Death and Taxes to play?
Oh yeah, but
or any white deck to play?
Yeah, I mean, I think most white decks had it in the sideboard to begin with, but
yeah,
there is that control deck that plays at main deck with Helm of Obedience, I think it is, and
yes.
What's that thing called? Energy Field. So it was popular for a while when Rest in Peace was new, but it kind of fell away, and the typical Miracles control deck is what we see now. But I think it might be worth thinking about playing those Rest in Peace's main again, because
everyone's on the Treasure Cruise hype train.
Yeah, so
that's
8 mana draw 3 isn't quite as good as the 1 mana draw 3.
No. When you're casting it for full cost, and you probably don't even have 8 lands in Legacy, it is suddenly a lot worse than beforehand.
Yeah, so I guess with so many playable Legacy cards, when I say so many, I think there's about 3. There's Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, and
I really like
the
Dig
Monastery
Through Time
guy.
as well.
At the moment, those are the.
It sort of feels it's like a like peer through depths that you get.
Dig Through Time. Yeah, it's just blue delve cards that draw cards. But with so many, what I'm saying is, with so many new cards, we've yet to see the extent to which it's going to shake up the format. So maybe a new combo deck is going to emerge that kind of makes Dig Through Time, exceedingly powerful. I did see it this week. I think Robert Pearson was playing Dig Through Time. Too good.
Okay, so that's the other 8 mana spell that puts 2 cards in your hand from the top 7 cards of your library, but will cost you a minimum of 2 blue.
It's an instant speed tutor spell, really. It's not bad.
Yeah, and if you can maybe find a way to copy it too, it gets even better.
Yeah. So Burn is off to the standard good start. Ooh, what have we got here?
That's a Metalworker coming down.
So hopefully Mark
has a way to
knows
deal with
that
this
at least one burn spell needs to be assigned to that Metalworker, because that is a dangerous card.
Most certainly.
Got a few white spells in there.
Yeah, I think there's some Boros Charms, and that looks like a Sword Splashes, which is
that's a weird one to have in burn, isn't it?
Good way to deal with it.
But
I think it might be a sideboard card.
Oh yeah. Fair enough.
So, well, I mean,
I think for burn you'd want Path to Exile instead of Swords, just because that life gain ability. But
that's true. But
I think Adrian's a heap of trouble now. He really needed that Metalworker, I'm sure, to kind of get his game plan going. And with Ancient Tomb now as his only mana source, it's
it's not as great as you'd expect.
Yeah. This is this matchup where the game's over in the first couple of turns. It's just last game, Adrian was able to slam the game winner early, and
most definitely.
this time by the looks of things, he's just he's got to slam a worm coil somehow. I don't know how he's going to do that.
I think he's got a cloud post in hand, which would be a good start, and it'll almost be the first time he's not playing two Shockland or two Ancient Tombs.
Yeah.
Which is
See, it seems like he's been playing 12 of them in his deck so far. He's had
yeah,
2 or
12
3
post
every game.
is more like 12 tomb from what we've seen. But yeah, it's obviously very important to sequence correctly with your land. I think that is one thing that is much harder to do with 12 post mud as opposed to regular mud. Is that your 12 posts come into play tapped, whereas with regular mud you can just sort of take shocks.
I'm just trying to work out what Mark's got in his hand. It seems like quite the brew for a red deck, I have to say.
Well, there's some Boros Charms, and that looks like a Seal of Cleansing, I think. Closest to us. And
He's clearly running a creature-based red deck, though, so that's unusual in a Legacy.
yeah,
Usually
'cause-
if you're playing red dudes, you're playing goblins, you know?
yeah, but Ash Seal, interesting, because maybe sometimes you'll get the second part of its text where it says take 2 or 3 damage
There's a flashback.
when they snapcast or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you want Eidolon, though, right? Yeah, Eidolon is the
You
big,
most certainly do.
big player
Yeah.
in Legacy. at the moment.
Yeah. It's a powerhouse of burn.
Although, come to think of it, not
Not
very good
so
in
much.
this match.
Yeah, not so much for playing against mod. I think what are you really going to hit? Metal Workers, which late in the game don't matter anyway. Basalt Monolith or Phyrexian Revoker.
Yeah. First 3 turns is when they play their cheap spells, obviously. Oh, that's a bit late.
Chalice of the Void for one's not really going to cut it anymore. And Adrian taking a lot of damage. So it's down to not a lot of life, about 10 or 11, I think.
Can you move the life total on the right hand side of our screen is masked at the moment, so we're not 100% sure what he's on.
Yeah, but Vesuva on Cloud Post is a good way to ramp your mana as well.
So yeah, so he's paying 2 for that Ancient Tomb. He's got to try and stabilize somehow. And this is where
That's a good place to start.
Lowstone Golem's Achilles heel of 3 toughness is going to hurt it, I think. Although Mark doesn't actually have a burn spell for it at the moment.
Is that a disenchant on the end, or is it the Seal of Cleansing like
I thought it was an Enlightened Tutor, which yeah, it seems unlikely that it's going to be Enlightened Tutor, right?
That is most definitely not Enlightened Tutor. Yeah, Seal of Cleansing.
Well, he's got mana coming.
He'll have 6 mana next turn,
If he
so...
slams a Worm Coil...
If he slams a Sundering Titan, is that going to do it?
I'm just trying to think. He's got a Boros Charm. If he's got to slam Worm Coil without paying any life, and I think he can do that with another Cloud Post.
He certainly can, yes.
Even if he slams a Worm Coil, I would say Adrian is probably going to lose.
Metal Worker?
No, that's not really going to do it yet.
Okay.
Ooh, okay, something's up.
He'll have 1 mana floating.
If he can slam Wormcoil and then equip Grease to it, that'd be pretty sensational.
Well, he does. That's 6.
Oh, he's got it too. Sick play.
Got a Kuldotha Forge Master at the very least, so he could. I wonder if he has a.
That's a pretty amazing line there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially to get the boots and all that out.
You can even afford to Ancient Tune. That's just rubbing it in.
Yeah, that's
Oh, for one.
pretty harsh.
So it is an enlightened tutor, isn't it?
Yeah, there's an enlightened tutor on the end there, and I'm assuming Mark's doing this in response.
Wow, what a turnaround.
But you don't really enlighten tutor here, do you?
That said, Mark has got him down to 1 with the cards he has in hand and the creatures.
Yeah, exactly. So if you cast enlighten tutor here, you're
Shutting down your
ensuring
outs.
that you don't.
Unless he's got Seal of Fire, right?
I mean, yes, that does it. That does do it. But I don't think he has enough mana, or is Seal of Fire just a 1-drop?
Yeah, it's a 1-drop.
Yeah, that does it. That's what you fetch here.
If he does that, I am going to applaud Mark, because that is brilliant.
I'm pretty sold on that being a line.
If he doesn't
you
have
it.
a burn enchantment.
But he can't cast it because because of Chalice of the Void.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
What is Seal Cleansing? That's 2 mana, right? I don't know. I think yeah, of course he's got no outs because of the Chalice. He's got to.
Yeah, that Chalice is.
The bad news for Mark is that he's not going to be able to target Wormcoil with that Seal of Cleansing.
Yeah.
So he's literally 1 damage short here.
And he can't get there because of that Chalice of the Void.
Yeah, it's a frustrating time for Mark.
So, if he gains 6 life, if he didn't enlighten tutor, and he say rips Price of Progress, that'd do it. Price of Progress is really what you want to be packing against mud decks. You want like 300 to 400 of them.
Yes. Does he have any? I don't see any.
I don't know, but if not, he should look at picking some up or see if anyone else has them, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 damage on Adrian right now.
Yeah, it's typically a burn deck's best spell.
Yeah, especially in a format like Legacy, where you just want to be running 300 of them, as previously. He does have four mana, so if he was able to rip something that wasn't Seal of Cleansing, he might have been able to get away with it. Like what do you have in a burn deck? If he was able to rip another Ash Sealet, or if he was able to rip another Boros Charm, or
He's just 1 mana short from doing two spells in a turn.
well, he has the 2 spells. He's got 4 mana there,
Oh, doesn't he?
so he can cast both spells. The only issue is he's Enlightened Tutor and put Seal of Cleansing on top, which just cuts him out of.
Yeah, Seal of Cleansing is actually pretty poor because of the greaves.
You sort of just have to trust in the heart of the cards, as it were, and rip a 2 mana spell. It
Yeah.
doesn't even matter which 2 mana spell, in all honesty.
I thought he only had 3 lands, so yeah, in that case I think he should have just try to rip something. I mean he's gonna deal 4 here, so I feel like even with a Wormcoil swing he might be in range, but I think there was a Forge Master as well in his hand.
There is a Kuldotha Void Master in
So
Adrian's hand.
I think Adrian's going to untap and
So-
just slam shut any potential outs that Mark has.
Mark has 1 card in hand, so all Adrian needs to do is play Kuldotha Forge Master. It's interesting. Could he screw up his line here if he did that?
He's got 9 mana from those cloud posts. There's no way Adrian just doesn't.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
Crush it.
Adrian has a ballistic Blightsteel Colossus in his deck.
Yeah.
Because if he does, I mean, he can just rip that and equip and then swing, and like that's crippling. And
Well,
you
it's lethal is what it is.
yeah. But he might not, which might be why he didn't play the Kuldotha Forge Master. Well, I mean, he probably played the Kuldotha Forge Master because he needs the life. I mean, the Wormcoil because he needs the life. Is there any line where, as Adrian, you unequip those Greaves off the Wormcoil engine and let him seal off cleansing it?
Only after attacks.
Yeah.
Only if he has the Blightsteel
Line.
I think,
Yeah.
So. Oh, he might do it to equip another Wormcoil engine or something like that. But
That just looks bad. He's actually got 4 of the posts now.
Oh,
which
well, I
is-
mean, it was. We already knew he had more mana than God next to him, so.
That's something I've not heard before, but yes.
That's actually probably the best play with that Seal of Cleansing he's got.
Yeah, you don't want him cracking that Kuldotha Forge Master in any way. And Adrian now says, I have all the mana in the world. So, do you activate Metalworker and just get whatever you need, or does he really just have enough with the 12 mana that's there?
You swing with Wormcoil and then play whatever you've got as blockers.
Yeah, I mean, he has at least one Kuldotha Forge Master, so he's not dead by any means. Unless it's to a sick rip of Price Progress.
It's interesting how Adrian's deck has kind of morphed from the previous games we've seen into a Cloud Post deck, because previously it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, previously it was just
Brown
mud,
man.
tombs, blah blah, and now it's like, bam, here it is. And
So
two Kuldotha Forge Masters.
What spell does Burn have that can deal 7 damage?
Price of Progress?
This is true.
Like, Price of
That
Progress.
would be. Oh, that would win because he's only got 2.
You just windmill slam Price of Progress here.
Yeah, but Mark has 2 non-basics as well, so he's got to be
Down to 4.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
He
think...
probably doesn't have them because of the non-basics in his thing.
I don't think Adrian's
Oh.
running Price of Progress. That's a...
Such a great spell,
Bolt?
Lightning Bolt.
Yeah. Unfortunately, runs into the counter of Cryptic Command. Chalice of the Void for 1. It's pretty gross if you can actually go turn 2 Chalice of the Void for 1, turn 3 turn 1 Chalice of the Void for 1, turn 2 Trinisphere or Lodestone Golem, and then they're in serious hot water.
Yeah, I think I might take back my earlier statement that Mark has a good matchup here, because it does look like Mud has plenty of ways to shut him down.
Mud.
Although, I mean, this game, I think he got pretty lucky, because he was dead until he had that insane play where he managed to swing with a hasty Wormcoil.
Yeah, that was a sick play from Adrian, for want of a better word, but just unfortunately that Goblin Guide has hit a bunch of cloud posts, which is pretty much exactly what you want here, right? Yeah, so they trade and then
Yeah.
don't have your Price of Progress, so unfortunately...
But Adrian having a good day at the moment.
Yeah, he's our resident king of the hill for the camera. So if he continues to win, I mean, he continues to stay on. And If he loses, whoever beats him will take his place. Is that it? And Adrian was also running a witchbang org.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was in the sideboard, and I believe he brought it in for this. Oh, that's great, because as you know, it shuts off Oath. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please join us for round 3, coming up in your feed.